Hello and welcome to another edition of the Tigers Down Under. I'm your host Alex, and with me I have Dan. How are you, Dan?
Yeah, look, I'm not too bad. Results for the A-League team going pretty well.
I saw that last night.
An interesting event-filled game on the weekend against Huddersfield. But I mean, overall, I'm not too disappointed with the result. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, we were sort of hopeful. I think did we tip like a draw or something? We were hopeful of something, and it ended up probably a lot closer than a lot of people would have suspected going into it. And then with, the first of the interesting decisions, I think, was it's not contentious at all, but Eves' red card to get sent off and leave us with 10 men for the majority of the game.
Which football game was it? Like it was like FIFA 97 or whatever it was. The one where if you ran away from the referee, you didn't get the yellow card, so you just keep running around the pitch. And I'm like
97 or 98 or something.
Yeah. It just reminded me of that because as soon as he did it, it was a clear as day yellow card, and he just tries to run away, and it's just like, mate, the ref's gonna drag you down. You can't just get away from it.
Both of those tackles were so dumb and so unnecessary. Like, one, they're playing it out of their back line, and it's not like the team was pressing or anything. He just ran across to try and do something, and then slid in for, I don't even know why. And then the second one, he had another player Fleming was right next to him, I think, ready to, and he took him out from behind, and you just go like, why?
And he had a few niggles at it. Like, he was sort of keeping pace with the Huddersfield player, and then it was almost as if he was just like, oh, he's got me beat, I'll just take him down. And it's like, just let him go. Like,
yes,
he's running down the wing. It's not like he's running into the box one-on-one with the keeper or something. But an interesting one. As you said, I guess last week we were saying, sort of half jokingly, half seriously, oh, it's a home game, just chalk it up as another 2-0 defeat. So I guess a 1-0 defeat in the circumstance is not too bad, but we'll talk about some of the controversial talking points, I suppose, from the referee's point of view. I guess firstly, though, on our performance, I think off the top of my head, was it no changes from the previous? Oh, no, I think was it Fleming in for Elder, I think, and
we got 2 out of the 4 that we picked.
That's right, and it was Doherty in for Slater, wasn't it?
Or the other way, was it?
Or the other way around, was it?
Slater in for Doherty, I think, to start, and then Doherty came on later. Yeah.
So it was 2 out of the 4 because it was Elia didn't start, and what was the other one we were saying?
Baxter.
That's right. Yeah, so two changes to the side. Probably had our best chance reasonably early in the game, that Lewis Potter free kick that was, I think, our only shot on target. An out of sorts Huddersfield side, so they were, in those early stages, it did feel like they were there for the taking. We had our chances, but as the title of this episode suggests, I feel like we're just kind of running out of ideas as we get towards the end of the season.
Yeah, look, it was sort of one of those games where I think if KLP, if that free kick had gone in, I think it becomes like a very, very different ball game. I guess like goals always change games, but it just, as you sort of say, it felt like early on we had him on the back foot, and that goal would have like just kept us with momentum and sort of probably and like allowed us to keep pushing. But they were able to, a great save from Nichols, their keeper, to keep that one out, and then they were just able to then work themselves into the game. Unfortunately, helped by a few silly free kicks that we gave away. But look, I think overall, like, I'm not too disappointed. Like, we played with 10 men for a long, long time, and we actually, we're under the pump, but we were holding them out, bar 1 or 2 clear sort of chances. A couple of really good saves from Ingram. One in when the player was the volley in the box, the half volley.
Was that that might be the same one I'm thinking of, where he was through on goal and Ingram just made himself really big and stopped the shot?
Yeah, so it was really good. It came. Yeah, the cross came in and I think it went over everyone's head, and he took the touch and then sort of half volleyed it and sort of bounced it, but Ingram got himself big enough to get contact, and then they were able to keep it out. And then the other one was where it bounced out and the guy hit it bottom corner, and Ingram almost would have had no chance to see that before it was probably just about in the bottom of the goal, and got down really smartly to push that, I think, onto the post and then out. But a couple of really good saves. But overall, for the balance, I think we defended fairly well. Like, to keep them out for so long with 10, it was somewhat reminiscent of the Bournemouth, the 1-0 against Bournemouth, where we just
Yep.
dug in and dug in and dug in, and a lot of it wasn't pretty. But you know, there was a period where I was going like, the longer this goes, the longer they don't like get something. If we can keep them out, then you sort of go on that last 5 minutes or whatever. Where it ended up, we had a really strong chance to finish off and where we could have leveled it. But
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, I sort of said the Lewis Potter chance was our best chance, but that Elia chance right at the end as well. It's his chance, as the commentator I think said, it was his chance to make himself a hero and get a point for us. But great to see him getting into that position, I guess.
Yeah, look, I think he was a little bit brighter. I think this time coming on, he tried to get himself involved. He was obviously in the right spot for that chance, and just don't know, fluffed his lines. I don't know however you want to put it. I mean, he did all of the right things except get it on target. It was a perfect, exactly what you want to do. Head it down in that position and towards the corner, and
I've got no
his angles
criticism.
wrong a tiny little bit. So
yeah, I've got no criticism of that sort of chance because sort of unlike some of the Marcus Force's misses, for instance, where it just felt like he just didn't have his body in the right position and was hitting quite tame efforts across goal. This one, I'm like, he's in the right position. He knows where to he knows where to lead. He knows where the space is, and I think that sort of chance will actually give him confidence, as sort of counterintuitive as that is, because I think he's taken so long to get into the rhythm of games, and as you say, he seemed much brighter in this one. To finally start to be getting those sorts of chances, I think will definitely help him gel in the side. I think Shota was saying he needs more game time over the last few games of the season. And I think presumably with Eves' red card now, maybe he'll get the chance either to lead the line or maybe as a striker off Force, if Force is fit enough to start as well. Be really interesting to see what he can do.
Look, not that I want to get too far ahead, but I wouldn't be surprised if without a decent number 9 option available, that we maybe even would think about changing that system a little bit to maybe play 2 up top, whether that's somewhat even if it was KLP and Aliar, with then I think Williams is fit again, even him to come in as one of a wider option or something would be
I saw his name in an article the other day and I was like, I'd forgotten he existed.
Yeah, because he and another one who just started to really come good and really showing what he could do, and then had that knee injury that's kept him out for a long time. And he's just, I think, coming back into training and fitness and just about ready to go maybe. But I don't know. I guess it depends if what's going on with Force and Smith and those other striker options we have. But I wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a two up top or something, just a slight change in the system to suit who's available, because I don't think really anyone, and not that Eves is great, although I do like him most of the time. I'm upset with him at the moment, but I think none of our other options really fill that number 9 role as well as he does in terms of their physicality, in terms of
not as a lone striker.
We all know his, the goal scoring records and whatnot are not great, but I think in terms of his general play, I think Eves is the best option we have for that. Number 9 lone striker. I suppose at some point we have to talk about the elephant in the room, which is Jacob Greaves' arms.
Yeah, well, I was going to come to that now. We can talk about the sort of fortuitous decisions that we got from the referee, and we do need to, I think, as a collective group of Hull City supporters, we do have to somewhat bookmark occasions such as this to just remind ourselves when the luck goes against us. We do actually get quite fortunate on occasion too. I mean, there's the Reading game earlier, there's the Birmingham game, I think there was. And then this one as well. And it looked like it was going the same way for a long time because we had, was it two different handball penalties turned down on Greaves as well as the
Yeah,
Smallwood tackle, or was it?
yeah, I think so.
So
Something like that.
yeah. So potentially three different occasions. I mean, that first one, especially from Greaves, I think he was very lucky to get away with. The Smallwood one as well. I feel like just watching it live, it just looked like a penalty. I was just very surprised that they ended up calling that as the free kick, that it wasn't. But got very fortunate with each of them.
Yeah, look, the refereeing. I think for the balance was okay. I'm not super critical of him in the grand scheme of the game. I think like in terms of most of the bookings and things, he handled that well and kept mostly on top of the game. But there were like 3 or 4 of those key moments where you just went, "The hell is this guy doing?" And
The the
the
one that
first,
really got me, sorry to interrupt, just speaking about the timing of bookings and stuff, it was that incident with Fleming. I think it was Fleming and the Huddersfield
yeah,
player where he got body checked and it was a clear foul and a clear yellow card as well. And the referee seemed to just indicate play on, at which point Fleming and the Huddersfield player squared up. And then I think they ended up both getting a yellow card, but then we ended up getting the free kick. So I was like, was he playing advantage? It was just a really weird situation where I'm like, if he's blown the whistle straight away and given the yellow, Fleming doesn't get booked because he doesn't remonstrate.
yeah.
That was probably
I
just about the only incident that I could think
Yeah, I
of.
kind of forgot. I forgot about that because it wasn't in the highlights package that I watched.
Mm.
But maybe I was watching the Huddersfield highlights. I don't know. They wanted to keep that one out out, out of view. But yeah, right. That I forgot about that. But I think like as you sort of say, it is all swings and roundabouts, and like we got lucky with you know Greaves's diving arm to push the ball wide. We got unlucky with their goal, which for me was offside anyway, off that free kick. You know, we got lucky in some places and unlucky in others. But
I
I don't
think
know,
I
a 1
think
nil
if
loss is fairly palatable in the grand
yeah,
scheme of things.
I think if it had been a draw, Huddersfield fans would have been pretty right to be aggrieved at the missed penalties.
Mm.
And I think the fact that it ended 1-0 in their favour means that those missed calls aren't as sort of contentious or as fixated on. So I think, as you say, I
But
think pretty happy with the balance of it.
is that? I guess this is not necessarily what we want to be talking about, but is that a good thing or a bad thing? Like, because to
Yeah,
say like that,
yeah,
okay, like, you know, the game ends 1-0 and Huddersfield Town don't make a big scene about it, but that means that referee, sure, there's going to be a review, but a lot of these things maybe aren't taken as seriously,
yeah,
like, as, you know, if Huddersfield, if it ends nil or draw and there are two or three, like, really clear, like, they're going to go straight to the referees, they're going to be, you know, putting in a formal complaint, all this sort of stuff that they're probably not necessarily going to do now that they've ended up with the 3 points anyway.
yeah.
So sort of
And I
like you
think
want the standard of refereeing to be as high as it can, so that you know you're getting those consistent like calls across all your all matches and across the league. And sometimes I guess like that little bit of luck that goes to it for you know in this case Huddersfield to win maybe means that some of those questions don't get asked as much as they need to be afterwards.
no, for sure. And I think I can't remember if we discussed it on the podcast or just in the chat. The prospect of a VAR light being introduced in the championship, I suspect, would probably be used for that sort of incident, which I know a lot of people aren't going to like it. I think when it comes to what is a clear and obvious error and what it intervenes on, needs to be much tighter than it has been so far in the Premier League. But I think there is an element of very, very obvious decisions that are incorrect in the Championship, at least, that are missed. The handballs, for instance, there's been a number of cases, penalties that we should have received that we've missed, where the refs either thought it was a dive or whatever, that should be awarded. And I think if you set the threshold high enough, I don't want to get into too lengthy a debate on the merits of VAR, but I think if you set the threshold high enough that it's just the really obvious things, and I know that's never really going to be a case because there'll always be an element of grey. There is a threshold of incidents that are missed in the Championship more so than the Premier League, because it's just a matter of fact that the Championship has a poorer quality of referee. It could decide a playoff place or a relegation place or a promotion place. And it, as you say, yes, the result went in their favour, but that shouldn't mean that those incidents aren't addressed and reviewed.
I think, as you say, I think the VAR so far across whatever leagues it's been implemented in around the world and in internationals, and it's been fairly seems like it's a fairly loose interpretation of like where they can step in and what they can overturn, and if there was I think there just needs to be, and it's a process, it's still fairly new technology and a fairly new system, that there needs to be this process of then tightening those protocols and those areas of intervention, so that we can have, so that it can become a tool that isn't detracting from the spectacle that is football. Because especially in the A League, at times this year it's been horrendous watching 5-minute reviews on things that everyone can see that it should or shouldn't be in the first 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And sometimes I feel and obviously if it and again, we don't want to get too much into this, but the ruling, the terminology of clear and obvious error means they should be able to put a time limit on how long a ref can go to the sideline and view footage. Because if you can't look after reviewing footage for 30 seconds or a minute, say that you don't know whether it's right or wrong, well then it's not clear and obvious.
Yeah.
So
yeah. No, that's right.
Anywho.
The other element of this, of course, is it's 6 losses in a row at home, which I think equals our longest record of losses at home. I actually haven't looked at the fixture to see who our next opponent at home is. I have a feeling it's that Cardiff game, which is probably our best chance at breaking that streak. But do you make anything of it? Is it nothing that matters too much just because of the time of the season? Is it still a concern about Shotter's abilities to get the players motivated at home? What do you think it is?
I don't know. It's a concern. It is a concerning figure. 6 losses in a row in any context is concerning. Sure, there are obviously the away games between maybe, and some of those results upset it. But yeah, 6 losses in a row is concerning, because I think every team sets out with every season to make their home ground a fortress. So they would have walked out at the beginning of the season and said, we're going to make MKM a fortress. We don't want to give away points here, yada yada, and it hasn't worked out that way at all. And I think the only way to, we just need to jag a win somewhere at home in one of these remaining games to try and start shifting that, because I think, I don't know, I don't really know what the exact reasoning behind our such poor home form is. Whether it's just a weird the crowdless hangover, we all of last season winning League One and no fans in, and we had a strong home record and everything. Sure, we could lower division, we could opponents, but you've still just got to play who's in front of you. So I wonder whether it's a weird sort of hangover of that, where we've had no fans in, and then when they came back, they weren't necessarily super supportive because of the old regime at the club, and so perhaps when fans did return, it wasn't the best environment at the stadium. Perhaps, I don't know. I'm not there. I'm just trying to spitball some possibilities, but and maybe it's just sort of that. But I think just even listening to some of the talk from Rodwell about even the West Upper and things that comments that he's made, and saying that Acun pretty much just wants to, he would just open the gates. Apparently, he said he would just open the gates and take the hit and let everyone just to fill the stadium. And they've had to sort of talk him out of that and say but you got to still you got to be able to cover your costs. And they said something crazy, even just to, because everyone's begging to have the West Upper open, but they said
how much was it? It was
£3,000 or something,
yeah,
crazy, just to have it cleaned afterwards. And so you go, okay, well, I can it's one of those things, and they're saying we just need more people, and if you can get the extra couple of hundred or the extra 1,000 into to fill or to be able to open that section, maybe that's just the other little pocket of noise or whatever that we need, or I don't know. But I do think it's something that we do need to turn around, particularly heading in for moving into the new season and into next year or next season, because that's got to be the target again, is to set MKM as a fortress and not give away easy points there.
Yeah, no, that's right. We'll talk a bit more about those comments from Jim Rodwell, as well as the upcoming Q&A from Acun in a second. But how about we'll do the MVP votes first, and then we'll move on from the game. I found this one really tough to score again. I find these sorts of performances where it's a loss to nil quite difficult to score. I've gone KLP for the 3 votes just because he had the bright chances early on and looked one of our more attacking players through the game. Once the red card happened, it was pretty difficult to see too much attacking intent from the side. So I kind of struggled beyond that. But Saeed Manesh for the 2 votes I gave him, because again he looked really bright when he came on, and he's started to improve a lot in his recent performances, and I'm really hoping he can get a start soon and get a chance to impress. And then 1 vote for Ingram. We sort of talked there about a couple of the big saves that he made at 0-0 to keep us in the game, and I thought he was really impressive again. And it's interesting, he's had some comments in the press during the week about wanting to stay at the club, wanting a new contract, all that sort of thing. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens over the next couple of weeks or months on the contract page for him.
Yeah. I mean, there's something else I don't know. I just saw the headline. I don't know the context, but where he was super thankful for something that Acun did, maybe when he had his head injury.
Yeah, when he was knocked out and Acun tried to go see him, but he couldn't get in to see Ingram because of COVID protocols, but he saw his parents and his wife. And it sounds like he was like, this is such a great owner to have. Oh, I'm happy to stay at the club, sort of thing. And it's like, well, all right, let's try and get you a new deal.
Yeah. So that's a nice moment as well. But so I've gone 3 points to KLP as well for pretty much what you said. The free kick, he delivers the cross, I think, right at the end that gets put back in by Smallwood for Saeed Manesh to unfortunately miss. A couple of moments where he's busting his gut, tracking back and all that sort of stuff, doing what KLP does. So I think that was, in a difficult game, another strong performance from him. I went 2 points to Ingram for some of those saves, because particularly that one where he was unsighted and had to drop down real quick to stop bottom left. I think that's a really high class save. So I think he did really well to keep us in the game for as long as he did, just about single-handedly at times. And I really struggled with the 1 point as well. Finding the third, I'd considered Saeed Manesh. I considered Slater, and then I looked at the goal, and he was just standing there watching, and then I went, scratch him out. And then I looked at someone else, and they were doing something lazy. I ended up actually deciding on Smallwood for 1 point. Another busy performance, just sort of goes about his business and makes mostly smart little decisions. He's the one who got up there in the 95th minute to pop that ball back in off KLP's cross back into the mixer for Saeed Manesh to have a go at. So I think I've gone KLP, Ingram, and Smallwood for 1.
There's a player that's been a bit conspicuous in his absence from our votes recently, and Mr. George Honeyman. So I'm a bit curious to see how his form ends up over the last 2 weeks of the season, because I think he's certainly dropped off the radar a little bit, which will be interesting to see what happens there. But yeah, look, in off-field news, so we've got there's a Q&A coming up with Acun in the next week or so, I think, which they said it sold out within the first minute. I think the tickets were free. I think it was an expression of interest sort of thing. But still, obviously there was enough people interested to book it out in under a minute, which was good. Going to be interesting to see what he talks about there. I thought he might talk about membership prices and things like that. And it looks like in that recent event with Jim Rodwell, he's talked a bit about, the utility costs and the cost of living, or whatever you want to call it, inflationary costs and inflationary pressures for the club are going to hit pretty hard. Energy bills going up £1 million for the season or something like that, I think I saw. So he has flagged pretty early on that it doesn't look like there's going to be much movement in membership prices. I think, as you said before, I think if Acun had his way, he'd be handing them out for free anyway. But at the end of the day, the club does need to have some sort of revenue to cover its expenses. So that's probably the biggest sort of piece of news people will be looking out for. I would think ahead of next season. And then, as you said as well, the West Upper, the cost of opening it for games, and they're basically saying, look, if there's the demand and if people want to sit there and there's enough people buying tickets, then they can open it. But for 200 people to sit up there, it's just not really feasible. So it does feel like it's a really difficult situation for the owners, because they're sitting here saying, we want to fill the stand, we want to fill the stadium, we want to give you everything that you ask for, but there isn't the demand, there isn't the sort of the people to meet that request or ambition of the club. You'd sort of expect there's that, if it was like I don't know how, tread a bit carefully with what I say, but like a so-called bigger club, a club with a larger supporter base, with that sort of opportunity, you'd be getting a sold-out stadium within a few weeks, I would think. So, look, Rodwell does say, like, with the pandemic and everything like that, people have changed their habits. People go to the movies instead, or they do other things. So it's luring people back to supporting the club, which is going to be a big task. But we'll see if they're up for it.
Yeah, I think the West Upper thing feels like it's almost like a bit of a catch-22. They're like, there's people that are sitting there going, well, I'm not going because I like to sit in the West Upper and that's not open. And they're going, well, we can't open it unless you're willing to come. And there's this like weird sort of like imbalance between like, what people want. And I guess like it's right with COVID and everything, and everyone being forced to just watch from their living rooms for a season. It's a hard habit to get out of. It's real easy. Like, it's real hard to form a habit, and it's real easy to break it. So I think I think they're trying to do the right things, trying to get people back and trying to make it an attractive option for people again. And I think over time, if we'll start turning those turnstiles, over more and more. Like, it's one of those things. I think we managed to, we stay up this year. That feels like success, and then you go into a new season with new owners from the get-go. Fresh squad, new sense of optimism. I think that's a really good time. That, and then obviously, I guess it depends on what happens with memberships and all those sorts of things, and whether there is any movement on that, whether they can find a way to change the financial structuring of that for the fans. But who knows? But
I think that's it.
It's going to be
a couple of big signings, a bit of optimism and ambition next season to challenge for promotion. I think, if you start the season off with a few decent wins as well, I think you'd start to see the crowds coming back. I think there is an element of the fact that we're sort of end of the season, not much to play for, that people are just like, oh, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, we'll move on then. We'll preview Middlesbrough in a second, but we'll do our second rendition of our new quiz, Who Am I? Last week, we kind of gave you a bit of a softball with a current player in Tom Eaves. So I'll give you another player this week who's no longer at the club. So it's a little bit more tricky, but I'd still think that you'll probably get there in the end. So the first clue: I made 99 league appearances for City and scored 3 goals.
99.
Yeah, unlucky.
Yeah, I don't know. You're gonna give me another one.
Yeah.
Who just missed out on 100?
Oh, so I joined City in 2014, and I was sold in 2017, and my nationality is Scottish.
It's not Robbo, is it?
It is. I was thinking I was thinking you'd have a 1 in 3, because I reckon you would have been going between Robbo, Maloney, and, well, maybe not even Maloney, but Robbo and Snodgrass. But yeah, I thought once I said Scottish, the next clue where I pointed out that he's a left back, I think Scottish left backs are pretty pretty rare.
I was just trying to think of like, I was like, I sort of was like 2014. I was like, all right, well, that's like just about when I started. And I was like, all right, so who played for a few years but wouldn't have scored many goals? And who was like you said, Scottish? And I was like, McGregor. And I was like, why would he have 3 goals? Like, that's not right.
Yeah, right. Well, there you go.
So,
Yeah, so
I'm actually not as bad at this as I thought I would be. It's 2 from 2.
2 for 2, and you got them quicker than I thought. I because the next clue was gonna be I played left back, and my shirt number was first 26, then 3, and I'd expected you'd get it on that one because as soon as you're going Scottish left back, the final one being my initials are AR, which again is sort of the softball clue.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, getting it from the years and the nationality is not too bad, and yeah, I do like leading with the appearances and goals because it makes you think. Because I guess I don't fixate on how many appearances a player's necessarily made for us, and even goals I'd probably struggle to say, but it gives you a good sense of like what ballpark you're looking in, whether it's a defender or a striker or something like that. But yeah, no, good stuff. Andy Robertson, 2014 until
That's crazy that
2017.
he made 99. He's one short of the triple figures of being a centurion for us.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Can we just get him back for like an honorary game or something?
That's
just
right.
give him 100 appearances.
If it was Aussie rules, he makes 100 appearances, we get the father-son. So if he has a kid, we just automatically get to sign him. I wouldn't mind that. But all right, we'll move on then. And we've got the Middlesbrough game coming up this weekend. We beat them 2-0 last time, actually, because that was one of their final games under Warnock, I think it was, but managed by Chris Wilder now. So pretty different proposition, I would say. They've won 3 of their last 5 games, and I think they're sitting in 5th in the table. Or might not be anymore after this morning, but they were when I last checked. So yeah, pretty tough game, and even though it's an away game, we'll probably struggle in this one, even with our recently good away form. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those tough ones where it's like I just don't have much optimism for this game, but I don't know.
Yeah, it's weird because like basically, so for the last month or 2 months, it's sort of been like, we want Eves to start because he's the best option we have up there, and when he's playing, we seem to play better, and now we're suddenly without him. But I guess it's really going to be that question of like who comes in, and I think if Alea comes in, I think with the time and the run in, I think he has enough. Like I think he'll be able to show something and create something and make something happen. So, I mean, I'm hopeful that that's the replacement that's brought in. I'll be real disappointed if it's Force. I think he's absolutely rubbish. I'm going to be honest. He's done nothing. He doesn't look like he just doesn't look like he.
It's one of those weird ones because he did so well with Brentford and he's done well previously. It's just one of those ones where it doesn't seem like he
seems to perform okay, internationally and everything, but just has not really shown anything really for mine anyway. So I would really like to see Sadmanesh get the start, and if Shotter's made the comment that he needs more game time in the run in, then hopefully that's sort of a bit of a clue about what's going to happen come the weekend.
So do you say Sadmanesh up top, and you were sort of saying before maybe we play the 2 up top, maybe we do Lewis Potter and Sadmanesh up top, which would I guess mean I guess that doesn't change too much because I guess KLP was already playing in that sort of forward position, but I guess you keep Ingram in goal, Fleming and Longman as the wing backs, and just keep that same central 3.
Yeah, it would just become. I mean, it wouldn't really change that much. It would just become like a 3.
Because he's already sort of playing in that
3-5-2 or a 5-3-2 or whatever, and it would just be, I guess, bringing. Just bringing them narrow and closer together. I think allowing them to roam around and do what they need to do. But I think, it's going to be an interesting game. I think we played really well when we played them last time, and I think was that on the back of an international break? I think or something.
I think it was. Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, so
or
we
just
sort of came back or just before, and did pretty well. I think.
I think it's the game where we scored where it like bounced off the post and then in off the back of the keeper's head or something like that. It was for the first goal. It was just sort of that. It kind of like broke the game open, and then we got Wilkes scored the second with a counter. I think it was that game that I'm thinking of. I think we've had a few of those, but
yeah, I think we played pretty well, but obviously, yeah, with a different manager, be interesting to see. And there's you sort of alluded to their form; they seem to be playing okay at the moment, so in a strong position and another good position on the table. So I think like in terms of like a challenge, it'd be similar level to what Huddersfield were. Possibly even they seemed a little bit off, if I'm being honest, like with how much they seem to struggle with the players at their disposal against us for long periods, struggle to actually like break us down. I think was probably disappointing for them. It'll be a tough game.
But look, in saying that, I mean,
but
we've performed better against those stronger sides. Like we had the good result against Blackburn when they were up there. We had the good result against Bournemouth, and even Fulham. You know, we haven't been too poor against. So it's one of those sort of counterintuitive ones where you almost think maybe we'll actually perform better.
Yeah, and I think generally, like, you know, people are saying, I've seen comments about people saying, well, Shotter's record is now like, you know, X, you know, wins in Y games or whatever, and that's not good enough. But I think what's been different is, you know, with how McCann was, and I, you know, didn't actually mind McCann, but I think like, yes, we haven't necessarily been winning all these games under Shotter, but I think you could clearly see improvement in a lot of the games. Is the way I've seen it. I think it's quite clear that he is making his mark and that we are improving. There are still obviously aspects to still work on, but I think it's still really early days. And I think if like fans out there that I don't know whether they're, you know, tongue in cheeks, like, you know, suggesting that he doesn't have it or whatever. I think, but I feel like it is too early to really make a call on that. And I think, but I honestly think that the signs are that we are moving in the right direction. And come, you know, with a full transfer window and all this stuff that's going to come in the off season, I think he's shown enough that he does deserve that, to have that full opportunity, you know, for next season. There are some people who are suggesting that he's only got the job because he's Acun's mate and he should be sacked. Like, you know, that Acun should realize that he's just wasting money by having him there and needs to get in, you know, someone else or whatever. But I don't know. There's plenty of managers who have come in who like you never thought would really like acclimatize as well as they have. Like even Silva, like, you know, came in as, you know, a relative unknown, so to speak, like was doing well in was it Portugal, I think, before he came, was it somewhere like that.
Greece. I think Greece was his Oh no, yeah, it was either Portugal or Greece. I know he was at Olympiacos for a bit, but
yeah. So he'd come, but yeah, so from like, you know, a lesser quote unquote competition, you know, came in and without any real expectation. Like there were comments about, you know, him being, you know, quite tactically astute and things, but there was never really any huge expectation. I think like he exceeded everyone's expectations in his time at the club. You know, almost securing a survival in the Premier League. So, you know, with a couple of really big and important results in that time. That, you know, those semi-finals, I think, against Man United in the cup and things like, there's some really good, strong results. But and I think it's one of those things. I think in time, I'm fairly confident that Shutter will get us playing, you know, decent football. I've been as hesitant at times, but I think he's still really starting. He's convincing me each game that passes, I think.
And I think the good thing for him in some ways is that he joined the club at like a really interesting period where we were. Look, I mean, I guess it's hard. It's easier to say in hindsight, but it feels like we were already reasonably safe. And yes, he had to get a few important wins to sort of make sure of that. But the bottom three were a pretty poor bottom three. I mean, maybe Derby aside. But he's almost had like an entire half a season or 2-3 months of the season to sort of get the players playing where there hasn't been as much pressure on him in terms of results, which is a good thing in the sense that he can, you know, it's almost like an extended preseason in a way where he's got this whole run in with the club. He can line up which players that he wants to keep around, which players he wants to get rid of. He's got this whole sort of chunk of time to kind of get the team playing the way he wants before we get into next season, where there'll be that pressure on results and that expectation on results, where he'll already be acclimatized. Like, he'll have already had that 6 months at the club, getting to know the way that the games work in England. It's like, if Slutsky had come in, or for example, if Silver had stuck around after that relegation and we'd had him in that championship season, you're suddenly going, wow, we've actually got a manager we're pretty comfortable with, we're pretty confident can actually get us going pretty well. And obviously, Slutsky came in instead. But you think if Slutsky had more time, if he'd come in a lot earlier, you think he could have actually done a bit better. So yeah, I think for me, I mean, the jury is probably still out a bit on Shota, just because, I mean, I agree that I can see that we're playing better on sort of each game, but that the 5 games in a row at home, losing streak, things like that do concern me a bit. It'll be interesting to see in the summer how much we overhaul the squad, how much influence he can then have on the players that he has, and then how we start next season. I think sort of, I mean, we're looking a fair bit ahead here, but I think probably 2-3 months into next season, we'll have a pretty good sense of whether he's cut out or not. Yeah. But I think at the moment it's just too hard to say.
I think another thing that I found is been quite good, that he's not been afraid to, like a lot of new managers would, be really, I guess, cautious about like making decisions about what players you wanted to like keep and let go and all that sort of stuff. But we've seen like, players recalled from loans, sent out on new loans. Cannon basically told, go somewhere if you can get football. Like, decisions that do affect, your playing squad, and he's made those real early. So he knows what he wants is, I guess, the way that you would look at that, and he knows like what caliber of player he wants within his squad. So I think that's something that is a positive, in my eyes anyway.
No, definitely. Just to wrap things up then, score prediction for this one?
Why do you got to do this to me?
Or result prediction? Score prediction's very specific.
I don't know if I can predict anything. It just feels like it honestly, it just feels like a lucky dip. Like,
yeah,
I have no strong feelings either way, but I also can't, like, I don't feel comfortable picking a loss, draw, or a win, because I feel like I've got no idea what's going to happen in this game.
Yeah, no, I'm the same. It's sort of just, leading into the discussion.
I'll just be optimistic and I'll tip a 1-0 win.
Yeah, I'm happy to back you on that one. I mean, look, to be honest, going into that Coventry game, we would have been sitting there going, nah, we're no chance in this game. They're flying, we're struggling, and we walk away with a 2-0 win. So stranger things have happened. Away game seems to be our forte at the moment. Top 6 team seems to be sort of our forte at the moment when they're not at home. So who knows? Look, it'd be great to do the double over them. Dent their promotion chances as well. It's it's fun to have that sort of influence and shape that top 6 as well if we can. So there's always a bit of motivation. And I was just looking at the table. I think mathematically, so Barnsley can get to 51 points because 50 points because they've still got 7 games remaining and they're on 29 at the moment. We're on 41. Now I'd assume that they're not going to win their last 7 games. So I'd say that they're probably going to get to about 44, 45 points. If we get one more win, and that takes us to 44 points with a 14 goal favorable goal difference, you'd start to be talking about mathematical safety, I think. So that maybe that last win will come against Cardiff at home, and that would be great as well. But the sooner we get it, the sooner we can start to breathe a bit easier, and hopefully it comes against Middlesbrough.
Hopefully.
But anyway, thank you for joining me for this one, Dan.
Not a problem.
No worries. And thanks everyone for listening in as always. We'll be back next week to discuss the result of this Middlesbrough game and to talk about the games remaining in the season. But until then,